The sharp-eyed among you will notice that this is not my usual trailer. Over the last few months I've been talking with Kathy about my desire to upgrade my trailer to something that is more suitable to our current needs. Our previous one was a tilt trailer, which means that the drawbar is hinged just forward of the front spring hangers. This works okay to a point for some things I do, but I was finding it more difficult to empty the trailer at the transfer station particularly, and when you don't have a pit to tip into, it isn't much advantage at all, except maybe for getting things on. I was talking with a neighbour the other day, and I commented that it seems increasing decrepitness is not linear. He smiled. Yes, I realise decrepitness is not a word you will find in the dictionary, but it works. After an accident at the local transfer station a number of years ago, when someone, maybe not with a lot of common sense, managed to injure themselves quite badly, the council raised the horizontal wheel stops and used about 150mm pipe on pedestals instead of the railway irons that there used to be. This means that you can't get the trailer as close to the edge of the pit, and also can't tip it as far. Also, instead of there being a 90-degree drop, now there is a 45-degree slope, which means the trailer doesn't clear as well. Another issue with the trailer was the height of the sides. It made lifting in rubbish and waste difficult, and particularly if it was heavy. Kathy found it quite difficult even with garden waste. When my neighbour expressed an interest in purchasing my trailer, I started looking for a replacement. I wanted something a bit bigger and with tandem axles so that I could carry greater weights and lengths more easily. I eventually found this one down in Levin. I ordered it, and Kathy and I went down for a day trip to pick it up last week. The weather wasn't great for the trip, but it was a day out together without the constant reminder of a dozen things outside that needed our attention. Certainly this trailer rides better with the longer timber on it, and having a greater distance from the axle to the tow hitch, it's easier to back. I have a plan to make raised sides for this trailer that will add another 400mm to the sides. I'll make them out of steel. I have some of the steel, but not all of it, so it'll just take time to get to it. I had been to the timber merchant to buy 13 2.7-metre posts and 8 lengths of the tongue and groove retaining boards, which are 6 metres long. This trailer was much better for doing that, and the tie-down point options were much better on this one as well. Good morning. Whew. Some of those 6-metre lengths are a lot heavier than the others because they are still very wet from the treatment. Anyway, the trailer is now empty for now, and then so I have put all the timber down here and filleted it all, and I will cover it as well. A couple of the boards are badly, the board isn't broken in half, but big chunks are missing, so I got those two for the price of one. And these posts, it would be fair to say that they are mostly straight on one side, but most of them have got a bow one way or the other. When I put them in, I will put the bow so that it's in the same plane as the fence is going, rather than so that it makes the fence have a bow in it. I think there's one that's got a bit of a wind in it, but it's not the end of the world. We can work with it. Right, next thing is builder's mix probably. I need to go and I'll get a cubic metre to start with and then see where we go from there. So a bit of a recap from yesterday, in which I didn't do any work on the fence or anything, but the surveyor came, and so that's a new peg there and a new peg over there. So now I just need to wait for them to come back with some drawings that show the new boundaries and also the new easements, and the old easements changed around, so that we can crack on with moving the power and telephone for the neighbour. So we've had a little bit of a hiccup on that front, but we'll just work through it. As you can tell behind me, it's a beautiful day. It's supposed to be today and tomorrow, and so while that's happening, I want to get on with things. I did notice yesterday that the one hole that I did look at has water in it, so I will need to hatch a plan to get that out before I put the posts in. But I want to have the builder's mix and the concrete mixer and the cement all here before I start putting the posts in, otherwise they're just going to fill up with water again. Okie dokie, we'll move on to the next thing. Another benefit of this trailer is that it has override disc brakes. When you are towing a trailer with a cubic metre of builder's mix on it, that can take a bit of stopping should you need to in a hurry. I used to put half a metre on my old trailer that didn't have brakes, and that was okay, but you did notice it on the back when it came to stopping. I remember my dad used to say that having a vehicle that could tow a particular trailer and its load was the easy part. Being sure your vehicle is capable of stopping it is a more important part of the equation. It seems that people are too often caught out by this when they purchase a caravan without the appropriate braking system. I bought enough of cement to match the cube of concrete at the ratio that I wanted to use. I knew it was more than I needed, as I already had a 40 kg bag, or part bags, in the shed. But I will use it in the next few months on small retaining walls and that are on the to-do list. Cement keeps okay for a few months as long as neither moisture nor air, because air has moisture in it, can get to it. A friend gave me a part bag of cement that he didn't want, but some of it was in very hard lumps which I had to break up in order to use it, purely because it was in a bag and wasn't sealed up properly. The stuff that I already had was either still in its original bag or was in a sealed plastic drum that I used for keeping leftover cement. Both of them are fine, so I used them first. The reason there was a bit of mucking about when I was backing the trailer in by the front door was because I had forgotten to put this little thing into place before I tried to back up. Now what that does is it stops the override brake from working. So normally when you're driving down the road or whatever, or going forward, you take that off there out of the way, and that means that when pressure comes on here in this direction, it pushes this back here. I can show you with the handbrake mechanism, so that it pushes this way and pushes the piston in the brake cylinder, and then that's what operates the brakes.
So when I went to back up, I was having some difficulty because I hadn't done that, and so this had compressed, and so I was pushing against the brakes. But then, of course, to get it to come out far enough again, I put the brakes on by hand, but I was still having some difficulty getting it to release. But we got there in the end, so got that sorted.
This is where this trailer really stands out. This hoist will make, and is already making, my life a lot easier. This is obvious even from this example you're viewing at the moment. I was at a working bee last weekend and it got quite a bit of use as part of that. Being able to just tip stuff off saves a lot of hard work. It has an electric hydraulic pump powered by a battery. This is all under the area that you can see at the front of the trailer. Beauty is that you can still drop the front gate down on top of that and run long links through over the drawbar. Many of the other similar trailers I looked at online, you cannot do this because it's too high. The manufacturer told me that the battery will do about 50 lifts on a charge. It's a big battery, but I think I will probably charge it every 6 months, just to look after the battery.
This afternoon, after getting timber and posts this morning, I decided that seeing we have good weather forecast overnight and tomorrow, that I would get on and put all of these posts in place. Now I don't have all of them done, but we do have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 in place. So I have another 6 to do, but I may well put the concrete into the ones that I have done before I then set the other ones. In part because I'm not sure how far the cubic metre of builder's mix that I've got is going to go, and also because I don't want to spend time tomorrow setting posts and then run out of time to put concrete in, because it is supposed to be not so good weather on Thursday, today being Tuesday. So that's it for today, and I'll see you next time. Good morning. Today's the day for mixing concrete and pouring it into post holes. So I have everything organised. It's about 10 o'clock. No, maybe near half past. Oh no, it's only 10 past 10. So I will get on with this and hopefully have all of the posts that I have set, have all the concrete in those before lunch. That should be manageable. See how we go.
Technically, I could mix this concrete at an 8:1 ratio. That's what it says on the bag for posts. That's 8 parts builder's mix to 1 part cement. Because the fence is going to be quite high, and also because the wind does funnel up through the gap between the house and the fence, I decided to do the mix at 6:1, which is what you would normally do for foundation piles and the like. Because I hadn't used this style of mixer before, I wasn't sure of its capacity or how stable it was when full of concrete. I started with 9 shovels of mix and 1.5 of cement. As time went on and I got more confident with the mixer and realised that it could happily handle 12 shovels of builder's mix and 2 of cement, so that is what I ended up doing. I must say I quite like this mixer design. It is easier to tip than the old style ones from my childhood, and also a lot quieter in operation because it doesn't have big metal gears and things whirring around to rotate the drum. From a safety perspective, I hung the power cord over the pergola so as to keep the connection up out of the wet. There was a handy cut-off branch on the kowhai tree right nearby in which to hang the hose. It's always a good idea not to have leads and hoses lying on the ground in an area where you are working, as that can easily cause you to trip, and a serious injury can be the outcome. My first effort at emptying the mixer may have looked particularly awkward. That's because it was. The issue was that with this first mix I wasn't sure where the concrete was going to land when I tipped the bowl. I didn't want the mixed concrete to end up missing the barrow and ending up on the ground. Once I had done this mix, I knew where to put the barrow, and I could therefore stand at the back of the mixer and use the handles to tip it. The cement was in what was my dad's brickies barrow, also to keep it up out of the wet. A few times over the day I put the broom over the concrete surface I was working on, just to sweep the loose stones into the pile. The reason I do that is that on a hard surface you can easily roll an ankle when standing on a largish stone, which is not really what you want.
That's about what you want. You want it flowing, particularly for post holes, so that can go down around where it needs to go. I have to say this concrete mixture is in serious need of some TLC. That's why I'll try and get it before it goes back.
This little shovel is an old hearth shovel, or maybe more correctly a coal shovel. This one may well have come from a school I attended. No, I didn't steal it. When I was at school, a number of our classrooms were old prefabs, and for heating they had a pot-bellied stove in the corner, and the fuel for these was coal, once they'd been lit with some manuka or something probably. Hence the coal shovels. Over time, the prefabs and the stoves went. At that time, my father had the contract for all the caretaking and cleaning for the primary schools, and so there were a number of redundant coal shovels. It was his job to light all the fires and the potbellies as well. I have several of them, and they are great for this job, as it enables me to slide it down between the post and the concrete, to make sure the concrete has good adhesion to the post. They're also great for potting mix to large pots and other such tasks. I've even seen stainless steel versions in commercial kitchens used for moving bulk amounts of flour and sugar and the like. Coming back to the concrete, I always use a bit of reinforcing rod to make sure the concrete is around the back of the posts, etc., if it is a bit tight in the hole on one side.
Here we are at close of play for the day. Cement on the glasses, not ideal. Anyway, they and I will be going to have a thorough clean fairly soon. I'm pleased to say that I have concrete around all the posts. It's been a long day. It's probably heading towards 5 o'clock or something. Yep. But it's done, which is actually, it feels significant, and it is, because it means that I can now get on with putting the retaining boards on the bottom and plod away at that. The concreting in of the posts was always going to be a big job because there are 15 of them, and so I used most of the cubic metre of builder's mix. They are all done. Some of them, because I had to dig out the holes bigger to get them in line, like this one particularly, ended up with a lot of concrete in there. But I mean, I could have thrown a couple of bricks in or something, but I had the concrete. So what I put in below the posts, it's good to have either concrete right round the bottom or some means so that the dampness of the ground doesn't come up into the bottom of the post. And you can buy special little plastic things to go on the bottom, but I couldn't find them in the hurry that I was in, and so I actually bought some of these, which are used as upstands for reinforcing mesh when you're doing a concrete slab. So you lay the reinforcing mesh on the ground, you push these down, and it clips over these two things here, and then you lift the reinforcing mesh and these all swing up the right way, and then that gives you your depth. You can get different height ones depending on how thick your concrete slab is. So what I did was I cut the top off, the little clippy bit off the top. Yep, you can see it there. Put that in the bottom of the hole, put the post on top of it. That'll do for a fence post. And I have a few, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 left over, which I will use anyway because there are more posts to go. There was quite a bit of water in I think 2 or 3 of the holes, and so I made up a special tool out of probably Black Doris plum can actually, and so designed so that it can go down in the hole and then it swings up. So that worked fine. I'll keep that around. The other day when I bought the yellow gloves, I also bought these ones for work where I need a bit more dexterity, I guess, and they've been great today, really good. So they've got neoprene on the inside, and so okay, I think that's probably it for this video, and so thank you. Hope you were entertained in some way, and I'll see you next time. Bye.